My name is Aprajita Jain. I'm the Chief Brand Marketing Evangelist at Google. Let's say you are a retailer and you're based on what category a customer purchases for the very first time from you, you have a sense of their average order value. And you also have a sense of their 1-year revenue and their 1-year margin. Now, who would you target based on this information? Now, typically you would say, oh, I'm going to go after the person who bought the bottoms with me because they had the highest average order value. But if you look at their 1-year revenue potential, again, based on your CRM database and the predictive modeling that you can put on top of it, and based on the margin information you have, depending on what you're going after, would you still go after the person with the bottoms, or would you rather go after someone who purchased shoes first or who purchased tops first? Because in the long term, they are the ones driving higher value for you. And that's the level of understanding that some of the most sophisticated brands are developing today, to not just spread their marketing dollars, but go after the people that will make the most business sense for them. Toy manufacturing brand. So this is, again, a company that I worked with maybe 6 months ago. And I will show you this example because they went through expanding their target audiences from currently just directing their messaging to children to now include other audiences too. Right? They're a toy manufacturer, so obviously most people will market the doll or the cars or whatever they're selling to the kids themselves. But the reason they currently create messaging for children is because they know children heavily influence their parents' buying behaviors. However, they also found out through research that there are many adults that engage in gift giving to children. So we took a deeper look at that data. They asked me to help them understand, what does gift giving look like? Like, what are some of the messaging ideas that we could generate based on that? So here's a set of data that I shared with them. We looked at 4 adult categories: parents, grandparents, uncles and aunts, and adult friends or relatives. You might not be related to the child directly, but you might be a family friend or someone. And the research we did showed that while parents and grandparents buy a lot of gifts, the most per gift is spent by friends and relatives. But if you look at that orange bar on the very far right, the amount of money, like the kind of $100 plus gifts, are mostly bought by friends and not necessarily parents and grandparents. Are you seeing how these insights are connecting to the way I would now design my communication strategy? If I'm going after reach, I would go after parents and grandparents because that's the easiest reach to be had. But if I'm going after average order value and how do I make sure that I'm showing the most expensive toys to the right people, I would target those to people that don't have kids themselves, but that are buying for other people's kids. But here's an overview of the model in general. So what you want to get to is the total sales that are a result of the media that you're investing in, right? And they're measured as a combination of base sales. Basically, what would you have sold anyways without any marketing efforts? How much did advertising contribute to the sales? And from all 3 types of media we discussed earlier, right? Paid media, owned media, and earned media. So there needs to be a bucket for each one of these in your media mix model. And then there's some other factors that are maybe in your control or that are not in your control. What could be under your control are things like your product, your price, your service, etc. And what may not be in your control are factors like trends, the weather, what your competitors are doing, what the economy is doing. So all of that is accounted for in this media mix model. And lastly, these models also build in a margin for error because no model is ever perfect. There is no silver bullet sequence. The creative idea defines the experience, and I'll show you different examples of sequences. But for every metric, in this case, we're looking at brand awareness, ad recall, purchase intent. Doesn't matter which metric you look at. Sequencing an ad always performs better versus no exposure or just one exposure of one impression or a 30-second ad. Right? When you start sequencing and breaking it out into different storylines, the performance for any metric is always going to be better. And the beauty about that is I always get the question, well, which sequence should we use? Should we start with a short ad, long ad, show another short ad? Should we start with 3 similar sized ads, 1 long ad, 1 short ad? Like, what should we pick? Great answer to that is it does not matter what sequence you choose. They all do better than your standard 1 ad. This example is from the company called Mr. Porter. They are a retailer primarily in the UK. I think they're going international too now, where they curate luxury goods from other retailers and sell it on their site. So similar to Yoox and Guild and all these businesses. The question they ask themselves is, how can we continue to build our brand through video and prove its ROI, but also expand into other audiences? Then Mr. Porter arranged the creative assets into 4 different sequences, right? They were testing. They had the straight shot where you would see the 2-minute male ad and the 2-minute video female ad, and that's it. Then they had the quick build where you would first see a 15-second montage, regardless of whether you were a male or female. And based on completing that or not, you would then see that more relevant to you version. Then they had 2 more here, a longer build, which started with a 15-second, a second impression, divided by gender, but also short, and then the full length 2-minute. And then they just flipped it and called it the reminder, where they started with the 15-second, split it between male and female, but started with the long one first and then the short one after. Just experimenting which one works better for which audience. And I don't have the exact results, but the quick build, I remember, was the best performing one for the female audience. And I believe the reminder one was the best performing one for the male audience. So alone that testing with simple breakouts of different assets in a sequence can give you so much information. You can try it in a small geographic area. Let's say if you're selling something nationally, you don't have to do it nationally. Try it in one geo market, test and see which sequence performs best, and then you expand that to the rest of the nation, because you don't want to spend any money unless you know what works.